and welcome to my channel. My name's Sue Findlay and today I'm going to be sharing a project that I was working on earlier on this year. I'll be showing you how I created this molten texture look on this ceramic vase. So stay tuned and I will show you what I did to create this project. So for the texture mixture I used 2 parts of water and 2 parts of PVA glue mixed in with some tile grout. The first thing you need to do is to add the PVA glue to the water and mix it well before we move on to adding the tile grout. So what we're going to do next is add our tile grout 1 scoop at a time and then just blend that with the water and glue mixture until we have the consistency that we want. So just keep adding 1 scoop at a time and then give it a good mix with the mixture. If when your mixture gets a little bit thicker and you're having difficulty mixing with the spoon, just use a whisk to help mix that in. So as you can see, I'm just rubbing it between my hands to just blend those ingredients together. And then once we have this at a consistency that you're happy with, then we're going to let it sit for 10-15 minutes. Once your mixture has thickened up somewhat, it's then time to apply it to the vase. So as you can see, I've turned the vase upside down and I'm now applying the mixture to the bottom of the vase. Note how I'm just scooping the mixture around the top. I'm making sure, 1, that there's no lumps in the mixture, and 2, I'm allowing it to very slowly move over the edges of the vase and allowing it to run down slowly on the vase. Now if you find your mixture is running down a little bit too quickly, then just scrape that off, put it back in your dish and allow it to thicken up a little bit more before trying again. So you could probably leave it for another 15-20 minutes until it starts thickening up a bit more. And then just add small amounts of the mixture at a time. And then as you can see, I'm just scraping it to the outer edges of the vase and just allowing it to flow over the edge and just adding small amounts at a time. Now don't worry if you start to see your mixture starting to break off in places and start to stretch and create gaps, because this all adds to the texture and the design on the sides. So don't worry if it starts doing that. If you do get some that completely drop off and land on your table, just pick it up and then reapply it to the bottom and allow the process to happen again, because as you're doing this it is thickening up and it is starting to cure. Once your mixture has run down sufficiently onto the vase and you're happy with the amount on there, then put it to one side and allow it to dry. So once dry, it's now time to paint the texture. So I'm using a metallic silver. Now any cheap metallic silver acrylic paint will do for this. So I'm just applying this with a brush and I'm just going to work my way around the vase, just making sure all of that texture is coated. Don't worry if you get some paint on the ceramic vase, because we can clean that up later on. Now don't forget to add paint to the bottom, because you want to have this finished all over. This helps to seal the grout also, so make sure that you coat all areas with the acrylic paint. So once you've coated all of the texture with the acrylic paint, just leave that to dry and we're going to come back and apply a wash to this to give it more depth and give it a more antique look. So now that the silver paint is now dried, I'm now going to add a wash to the surface of the texture. So I'm just putting a small amount of black acrylic paint onto the plate, and then I'm just adding some water, and I'm going to mix this thoroughly to water down the paint. Now there's no specific ratio for this, just add the water until you've got a nice runny texture, but it's not too light, and that you've still got a good strength of black colour. Next, using your brush, apply the black wash to the surface of the texture, making sure that you get into all the nooks and crannies, because you want to make sure that it gives it depth, because we're then going to wipe off any excess with a baby wipe. Now I'm just dabbing the colour off, I'm not actually wiping it, so I want to take the colour off just off on the raised edges and not all of the black. Like I say, you want it to be in the nooks and crannies to give it some depth. And once you've applied all of the black wash and you've dabbed off the excess, just clean off any paint from the ceramic vase using your baby wipe. And once again, we're going to leave this to dry before coming back and adding some extra highlights to the texture. So for the highlights, I'm using the Resin Silver Night pigment powder, but you can use Pearl X powder or any other silver mica powder. I like this one because it's got a nice sparkle to it. And then just using my finger, I'm now just rubbing this across the surface of the texture to just bring out those highlights. By using your finger, you don't get into the creases, so you can only run it across the surface of the texture. So this means that the areas in the creases will remain nice and dark, so this gives it a nice antique look. I should also mention that if you don't have Pearl X powder or mica powders, you can still use acrylic paint. So you could use silver paint, and then using the dry brush method, you can apply the silver to the surface, but just make sure that you don't go into the creases and that you just get running it across the surface of the texture. So next we're going to seal the whole thing. So we're now using some gel medium over the texture. So this is going to make sure that any of the Pearl X powder or mica powders that you've put on the surface doesn't just rub off or wash off when you come to clean your vase. So I'm just using a touch of gel medium, and I'm going over the surface of the texture and coating it with some gel medium. Now you can use a varnish or a spray varnish or anything that you have to hand to seal this in, but I like the gel medium because I feel it also seals the tile grout and prevents it from cracking. And then we're just going to go all around this and just make sure that all areas, including in the nooks and crannies, has got a good generous layer of gel medium. Now note this will look a little bit milky to start off with, but as the gel medium dries, it will dry clear. So for the final touches, I'm going to add some sparkle to this in the form of acrylic diamonds. So I'm just going to add some extra gel medium in certain areas, in some of the holes, and I'm going to add some of the acrylic diamonds to give it, like I say, some extra dimension and a little touch of sparkle. So as you can see, I've added a generous layer of gel medium to the edge of the texture, and I'm now spooning in some of the acrylic diamonds into that texture, which I'm then going to push down in to make sure that it's got a good coating of gel medium to help bind this to the texture and to the ceramic vase. Now note I'm not adding this all over, I'm just adding it to certain areas just to give it a little bit of added interest. And like the other area, I'm just adding a touch of the gel medium, and then I'm going to spoon on the acrylic diamonds, and then using the backside, the tail of the spoon, I'm just going to push that down into the gel medium just to make sure that that binds and sticks well and they don't just fall off. So once you've finished applying your acrylic diamonds, it's time to leave this to dry. Now note that because you've put a generous and thick layer of gel medium, that it may take a week or two for it to fully dry all the way through. Now you'll know when it's fully dry, it will be clear right the way through. So it may take several days depending on the time of year for that to dry. I hope you enjoyed this video and it's given you some ideas for upcycling vases that you have lying around your home. If so, then please give it a thumbs up, or better still, subscribe to my channel. I have other ideas to keep you inspired, and I'll be bringing you more projects very soon. So until next time, bye for now.